Sequences of transformations is what we're going to do today. The first thing we're going to look at is our example that's on your paper. Complete the sequence of transformations, write the coordinates and the rule. So look at number 1, reflection over x-axis and translation of 4 units to the right, 2 units down. I'm going to first circle the transformations, and then I'm going to underline what I'm actually doing with those transformations. After we do that, we're going to go ahead and write the rule. So I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says rule. And rule always starts with x, y, our original coordinates. And then we're going to use the rule for reflection over the x-axis. And remember the song, x-axis, x stays the same, reflect, reflect. So x stays the same, therefore I know y becomes the opposite. Then we have another transformation, and it's the translation. 4 units to the right, right is plus, and it's 4. 2 units down, that's minus 2 for the y. So x plus 4, y minus 2. That would be our rule. And we're going to put a box around it. Now we can go up to the graph. The actual original figure is already plotted on your paper, so we need to write down the ordered pairs for z, j, l. And that's going to go in the first column. Z is -4, 0. J is -5, -2. L is 0, -3. Now we're going to use the rule for reflecting over the x-axis to get the z prime, j prime, l prime in the middle column. So if I am going to keep the x the same, I'm going to bring all of the x's over all together. So -4 stays the same, -5 stays the same, and 0 stays the same. And my y is going to become the opposite. 0 will stay 0. -2 becomes +2. -3 becomes +3. Now I'm going to apply the translation rule. Let me get a different color, because I'm going to use my paper to do the solving so that I can make sure I get everything right. So I'm plussing 4 to all of the x values. So I'm going to do +4, +4, +4. I'm going to go ahead and fill in z prime prime and j prime prime, l prime prime. So -4 + 4 is 0. -5 + 4 is -1. 0 + 4 is 4. And you should definitely do a T-chart to make sure that you're getting these right. Now I can apply y minus 2. -2, -2, -2. 0 minus 2 is -2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now we are ready to plot the actual new figure. So here is my figure. I'm going to plot the prime primes and label them prime prime. 0, -2. 0, so I go nowhere left or right. I'm going to go down 2. 1, 2, make a point and label it z prime prime. J prime prime is -1, to the left -1, and nowhere from there. J prime prime, and then L prime prime 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1. L prime prime. Connect my points, and that would be my final image. Let's go to the next example. Find example 2 on your notes. And we're going to start by circling and underlining. It says rotation by 270 degrees counterclockwise and translation of 2 units left, 3 units down. So we have a rotation, a translation, 270 counterclockwise, 2 units left, 3 units down. And my notes for rotations are in clockwise for the song, so I need to change 270 counterclockwise into clockwise, which would be 90 degrees clockwise. And that way I can sing the song that we have in our notes. And then I can go over here, and I know left is x minus 2 because of that. And then down would be y minus 3. So now I'm ready to write the rule. Go down to the rule, x, y. In the 90-degree clockwise song says 90 degrees, find the opposite of x. Switch the x and the y. The x and the y. So find the opposite of x and switch. So I know the x is going to go in the back as the opposite, and the y in the front. Then I write my rule for the translation, and I've already done it in the problem. So we have x minus 2 and y minus 3. And that's our rule. Now let's go to the picture, and we're going to write down the ordered pairs for the original figure that's already given to you. And A is negative 5, 1. I is negative 1, 2. And J is negative 5, 5. Let's use our rule for the 90-degree clockwise, and it's y negative x. So I see that the y is going to stay the same and go into the front. So I'm going to do all the y values. So here are my y's, and I'm just going to move them to the front of the parentheses and keep them the same. Then I know that I have to move x to the back and make it the opposite. So here are my x values. The opposite of negative 5 is 5. The opposite of negative 1 is 1. The opposite of negative 5 is 5. Now let's apply the translation rule, and I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to add the problem in the ordered pairs. So I'm going to minus 2 to the x values, and the y values I'm going to subtract 3. Minus 3, minus 3, and minus 3. Now I can solve those integer problems, and you should make a t-chart for each one. And I'm going to fill in my final image coordinates. So starting here, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. 5 minus 3 is 2. Going to the I, 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And the J, 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. So those would be the order pairs that you're going to have to plot for your final image. Let's go to the image now, and we're only plotting the prime. So A prime is negative 1, 2. Negative 1, 2. I prime is 0, negative 2. 0, negative 2. And J prime is 3, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. I can connect my points, and that would be my new image. Now let's do the last example. Example 3, reflection over the y-axis and dilation with a scale factor of 1/2. Let's go ahead and write our rule. X, y, and the reflection over the y is y-axis. Y stays the same, reflect. So y stays the same, so that means the x will become the opposite. And then we're going to go to the dilation, which is a scale factor of 1/2. So we're going to multiply each value by 1/2. x times 1/2, y times 1/2. Now let's go to our image and write down the ordered pairs. The ordered pairs for EIX, for E it's -3, -3. For I it's -4, -3. And for X it's -4, -1. Let's apply our first rule, which is the X becomes the opposite and the Y stays the same. So I'll do all the X's, and I'm going to do the opposite. So here's my X values. I'm going to put -3, the opposite is +3. -4, the opposite is 4. And -4, the opposite is 4. Then I'm going to bring all the Y values over, and they're going to stay exactly the same. -3, -3, and -1. Now we're going to do the dilation by 1/2. So I have a big parenthesis so I can show my work. And because I have fractions, I'm going to make all of my ordered pairs a fraction. So I'm just going to bring the ordered pairs over and turn them into fractions first. And I'm going to use a different color to show that I'm multiplying by 1/2 to each one of those. Times 1/2. And now I'm going to solve my multiplication problems with the fractions. And to multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators and then you multiply the denominators. So on my paper, I'm going to multiply these two. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Because it is an improper fraction, I need to change it to a mixed number so that I can plot it. So we do 3 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. I'm going to make that number big because it's going to be my whole number in my answer. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So that means that answer is 1 1/2, or 1.5. The next one, -3 times 1 and 1 times 2, we know that's going to be -3 over 2. I've already done the work to change that to a mixed number. It's going to be -1 1/2, or -1.5. Let's go to the I values. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. That would equal 2. -3 times 1 is -3. 1 times 2 is 2. And again, we've already done the work. -1 1/2. Quiet. And then the last one, -4 times 1 is -4. 1 times 2 is 2. That would be -2. -1 times 1 is -1. 1 times 2 is 2, so -1/2, or -0.5. So that would be the ordered pairs for our final image. Now we can go to the picture, the graph, and plot our final image. One of my awesome students found a mistake that I've done. So let's go back to those notes, because this part should not be negative. It is actually positive, which means this would not be negative. It would be positive, which means this would not be negative. It would also be positive. So let's go over to the answer, because instead of -2, it should say +2. So let's make sure that we make that correction. Now we can graph the image because it will be correct. And here we have the correct ordered pairs. Now I'm going to plot them for the E prime prime 1/2, -1/2. So I'm at 0. Here's the 0. And I'm going to go negative 1.5. I'm sorry, I'm going to go positive 1.5, 1.5, and negative 1.5, 1.5. That is where E prime prime will be. Now let's do I prime prime. 2, 1, 2, negative 1/2, 1.5. That would be I prime prime. And then the last one, X prime prime. 2, 1, 2, down 1/2. That would be X prime prime. And then I can connect my points. And I have my final image. And you can see that it changed in size and it reflected over the y-axis. Now you should be able to complete your sequence of transformations